One of the victims' parents has said they believe that there was some connections between this man, Brian Kohlberger, and his daughter, one of the victims, but we really don't know motive at all.
Yeah, so Kaylee Gonzalez's family, there was some reporting that they said they thought there was a connection. I've talked to them a ton as recently as yesterday, and they say that they didn't really say that. They don't know right now of a specific connection between Kohlberger and Kaylee. They say they're looking for connections, but they haven't come up with anything yet at this point, besides just, obviously the geography. Kohlberger was getting his PhD in criminology just about 10 minutes away from the house where the murders happened in Pullman, Washington. So he was in the area, of course, but we don't know of anything that specifically ties him to any of the victims at this point. And there was nothing about motive or anything that connected him to the victims in the affidavit.
It's incredible that they actually found not the murder weapon, but the sheath that the knife had been housed in at the murder scene next to one of the victims. Incredibly sloppy on his part for this supposedly brilliant PhD student in criminology. One wonders what would have caused him to leave such a crucial piece of evidence behind. And it does reveal that they found DNA on part of that knife sheath. So talk about that evidence.
Yeah, that really surprised me, again, because it's like everybody's been sort of talking this guy up in terms of, he's brilliant, he's getting his PhD in criminology. But the knife sheath was found on the bed next to one of the victims, right there by her side. And on the knife sheath, there's like a little button where it clips closed, and they found DNA on the button of the knife sheath. When they eventually tracked Kohlberger back to Pennsylvania, where he was staying with his parents during the holidays, FBI went to a trash can, got trash out of the trash can, and it was DNA from the trash can that ended up matching up with what they found on the button of the knife.
It matched Brian? What I read was they found the dad's DNA in the garbage, and they were not able to rule out that the dad, basically they what the DNA showed them was this guy who lives here is the father of the killer.
Correct. That's correct. And what happened is when they went and finally arrested Brian, they did a search warrant of the house where they arrested him, but they also did a search warrant to get his DNA. We haven't gotten, any information. I'm assuming it eventually connected up, and they can do that within one day here at the Idaho State Crime Lab. But you're right. In the affidavit, it connected back to his father. I guess that piece of trash had something, with his father's DNA on it.
Also interesting was they'd been following him, the FBI, for at least 4 days. I don't know if I believe the timeline. It seems like the FBI was certainly onto him for more than 4 days, but they admit in the affidavit to a 4-day follow, or sort of a surveillance on him prior to the arrest, which I think was December 29, and they saw him once he got back to his parents' house. He drove cross country with his dad. The murder was November 13th. November 15th, his dad had flown one way from the Poconos, Pennsylvania, to Washington State, where Brian was at school. And so December 15th, they start their cross country journey together. And they, so by the time he gets back to the Poconos, they were watching him, and they saw him reportedly take his garbage, Brian Kohlberger, the suspect, take his garbage out of his parents' house and try to dump it in the neighbor's trash bin. Have you seen this report?
Yeah, I've seen that report, which is really interesting. And you mentioned we know they were following him for at least 4 days, but it goes back like a month. They first became aware of Kohlberger almost a little more than a month ago. It all started with the car, with the Hyundai Elantra. They put out a be on the lookout with local law enforcement. It was an officer in Washington State, in Pullman, where he was going to school, who spotted a car, an Elantra, and then they traced that back to Brian. And that's sort of what started the whole process. That's when they started trying to ping the cell phone and figure out what was going on. But he's been on their radar for a month, which, having been here all of this time, they have been so quiet, and it seemed many days like they absolutely had nothing. And what's so interesting to me about this affidavit is like they have had a ton of information for a long time. They've just been super, super tight-lipped about it with the media and also with the families.
Or have been smartly misleading because they said, among other things, that the two other roommates didn't see anything. And that was clearly done for the protection of the other roommates because the one roommate absolutely saw something that would prove to be extremely important. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that was like another jaw-dropping thing. I mean, because we were told all along that the other two surviving roommates were sleeping. And then the affidavit comes out and it says that one of them was awake and heard things, heard crying, heard the dog barking, heard a man in the house, heard a man's voice. And then at one point looks out the door. And also, by the way, we thought that the surviving roommates were on the ground floor. It's a 3-story house. One of them who actually heard these things was on the second floor where the killer allegedly came in. So not only did she hear things, but she looked out the door of the bedroom she was in and she saw the killer. She says she saw him walk by, that he had a mask on and that he had bushy eyebrows. And she saw him go in the direction of the back sliding glass door. All of that, nobody knew that on the outside until yesterday. And the bushy eyebrows thing is interesting because I mentioned how it was that officer initially in Washington who saw an Elantra and notified the police here in Moscow. They actually made the bushy eyebrow connection early on, which is what started to get the ball rolling, where they started looking into Koberger.
So you've heard me talk about Bonner Private Wine Partnership in the past. Listen up, okay? They have incredibly rare Malbecs right now that you must try. If you enjoy a great glass of wine, try these wines from the extreme altitudes of Argentina. The flavor is spectacular. They got blackberry, leather, smoke, little dark cherry. Who doesn't love that? And these wines are nearly impossible to get on your own. The producers deep in the Andes Mountains make limited quantities. The best part is they have cut out the middleman, which means you will not deal with a big markup. Today, we have a new offer that we've never had before. If you visit BonnerPrivateWines.com/MKS, Bonner is BONNER, BonnerPrivateWines.com/MKS, you will not only get the wine for over 50% off plus free shipping, you'll also get a bonus bottle of small batch limited production wine from their exclusive wine cellar. That means you get 4 bottles for the price of 3. It's a deal that's hard to turn down if you are a wine lover like I am. Just visit BonnerPrivateWines.com/MKS to claim your bonus bottle and become a part of America's most unique wine club. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.